Hi, I'm Dr. Bertice Berry, and I need to tell you a story. Every day I sit, I say a prayer, I meditate. Sometimes I have an inkling of a story the night before. Some days I can sit here for, for quite some time, waiting to see the story that comes. And I'm praying that the story has some connection to the reader. I have no idea why this story came up. Anyway, here's the story. So my youngest son was about 9 or 10 at the time. He's in like fifth grade, I think. And he and I were in the grocery store. Now, typically, I did my shopping when the kids were in school because that way they weren't like all over the place, and I could get that done. I get home. It's one of the reasons why my body is what it is because I would have to drag all the groceries in and what have you. Anyway, so my son and I are at the grocery store, youngest son, and we run into his teacher. Now, this is a substitute teacher because his teacher is out long term with illness. But he's going to be back. But right now, he's got this long term, maybe 3 month, 4 months teacher. So she sees me and she sees my son and she's like, "Oh, hi." And so she walks up and I'm walking towards her and we introduce ourselves and she's just going on. And then she says, "Your son is really, really doing well. He's beginning to be able to sound out words. And I think the remedial reading program is really helping him quite a bit." And my face did what it's doing right now. I was like, "What? Remedial what?" I said, "Remedial reading?" And she says, "Well, yes, you know that he cannot read yet, but he is beginning to sound out words." I turned around and looked for my son, and he was already gone. He, he took off when he saw her and saw me going to greet her. He took off. I said, "What?" And I didn't see him, so I stood in that grocery store and I yelled his name so loud that other kids came running. He came back. He was like, head down and like really like, mm-hmm. And she said, "Yes, well, when I asked the young folks who needed to be excused to go to the remedial reading group, he raised his hand and I realized that he was one of the readers because when I'd asked him to read, he couldn't. And, it must be so difficult to be able to be in a space and not be able to read." At this point, my face is like, and I'm doing it just let the people talk thing because it's not going to end good. So, I tend to, now back then I always carried a paper book in my bag because, with kids, you're going to be somewhere waiting, sitting somewhere waiting for them or waiting for something, waiting for an appointment, waiting for most of your time as a parent is going to be waiting for something. So I pulled out a book and I think it was an Anne Rice book, one of the vampire series. And so I handed him the book and I said, "Read this." And he was like, he already knew. He starts reading and she's like, "Well, it's okay. You don't have to embarrass him. It's okay." I said, he was reading, like, I don't know, Attenborough, and then the vampire Lestat came through because he had this deep, rich voice. The vampire Lestat came through and saw. And the woman was like, "Does he have certain pages memorized?" I said, "Ma'am, why are you so willing to believe that he can't read? This boy can read better than you. He can read better than me. What are you talking about?" So it turns out my son was he realized that she didn't know. And he was like, whatever. And he could go to this remedial class where you just put your headphones on and listen to the prompts and do whatever was required. And he could finish these portals in no time. And it gave him the rest of the time to draw and imagine and think and do whatever it was that he wanted to do sitting at this desk that he didn't want to do sitting in a classroom with her. She turned every shade of red and started crying, and she was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. I said, well, you're a substitute teacher. But they have a list of kids who are supposed to be excused and going there. And she's like, well, maybe I thought they missed him because he really couldn't read. I was like, ma'am, he can read. My son, from that day on, I think he had to get through a quite a big book every week or every 2 weeks was his punishment. But as I was thinking about the why of this story, I thought of how many people are walking around pretending that they don't know what they know, acting as if I can be in ignorance, I can be in bliss. I can imagine and play and do whatever it is that I want to do, and I won't have to face the rigor and the structure of what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. I can be excused from class, the class of life, if I just act as if I don't know. We know and are responsible for knowing. And those who are our teachers are responsible to know how much you know, so we can know how to share and impart wisdom, knowledge, and love. Stop acting like you don't know how much work needs to be done and thinking you can get away with not doing it, because the world is waiting for you to grow up, sit in that chair, and learn with the rest of us. I love you.